what's so incredible, too, about this picture, St. John, is other than the person purported to be your father, who truly looks like a tramp, he had dirty clothes and a ruffled shirt and everything else, the two people in front of him have clean shoes, clean pants. I mean, they look just like preppies.
Yeah. In fact, they do look like they're well washed.
Now, your father, of course, sends you this tape. We're going to play this in just a moment, and I've got to ask you this: do you, first of all, believe his story? I mean, he's named LBJ. He's named a fellow by the name of Cordmeyer, who was with the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
What if your father was just lying to protect himself, to protect all of you, and to protect those who truly might have been involved in the J.F.K. assassination?
Well, okay, a couple of points here. I don't think he would have lied, because at that point there was no pressure from any other angle that would have caused him to create a story. Second of all, if he were interested in creating or fabricating a story about the JFK assassination, he certainly would not have implicated some of his closest associates in the Cuban exile community and in the CIA, and certainly would have not implicated by inference the American government itself. He would have much more than likely fabricated a story involving a Soviet plot, painting a picture that Lee Harvey Oswald was a Soviet sympathizer, that was a Soviet agent, or something along those lines. He was still an agency man, my father was, and although he had been, bitterly, he'd been bitter about his treatment by the American government, the Nixon White House, he was still at heart a patriot, and would have not had said anything to sully the reputation of the CIA or the American government.
Do you believe your father could have been, if he's one of these tramps in this picture, could have been involved in the assassination?
Well, the photograph of the tramp certainly looks, very, very much like my father. By my father's own testimony to me, by his own admittance to me, he was a bench warmer, those are his words, in the what he called the big event, which was the running code name for the assassination to kill President Kennedy.
Sure. So he knew it was coming down, right?
Well, according to what he told me, he knew that it was coming down. He had attended a couple of meetings at safe houses in Miami, Florida, and apparently the plot was to have taken place in Miami.
All right. Now, we're going to listen to a tape. You're going to hear some names mentioned. This is the voice of E. Howard Hunt in a tape that he sent to his son, St. John Hunt. It's a longer version of the tape. What you're hearing is an edited, shorter version.
I heard from Frank that LBJ had designated Cordmeyer Jr. to undertake a larger organization while keeping it totally secret. Cordmeyer himself was a rather favored member of the Eastern aristocracy. He was a graduate of Yale University and had joined the Marine Corps during the war and lost an eye in the Pacific fighting. I think that LBJ settled on Meyer as an opportunist, Perrin like himself, Perrin, and a man who had very little left to him in life ever since J.F.K. had taken Cord's wife as one of his mistresses. I would suggest that Cordmeyer welcomed the approach from LBJ, who was, after all, only the vice president at that time, and of course could not number Cordmeyer among JFK's admirers. Quite the contrary. As for Dave Phillips, I knew him pretty well at one time. He worked for me during the Guatemala project. He had made himself useful to the agency in Santiago, Chile, where he was an American businessman. In any case, his actions, whatever they were, came to the attention of the Santiago station chief, and when his resume became known to people in the Western Hemisphere Division, he was brought in to work on Guatemalan operations. Sturges and Morales and people of that ilk stayed in apartment houses during preparations for the big event. Their addresses were very subject to change, so that where a fellow like Morales had been one day, you're not necessarily associated with that same address the following day. In short, it was a very mobile experience. Let me point out at this point that if I had wanted to fictionalize what went on in Miami and elsewhere during the run-up for the big event, I would have done so. But I don't want any unreality to tinge this particular story, or the information, I should say. I was a bench warmer on it, and I had a reputation for honesty. I think it's essential to refocus on what this information that I've been providing you, and you alone, by the way, consists of. What is important in the story is that we've backtracked the chain of command up through Cordmeyer and laying the doings at the doorstep of LBJ. He, in my opinion, had an almost maniacal urge to become president. He regarded J.F.K. as he was, in fact, an obstacle to achieving that. He could have waited for J.F.K. to finish out his term and then undoubtedly a second term. So that would have put the LBJ at the head of a long list of people who were waiting for some change in the executive branch.
You know, I've already passed this story on to Glenn Beck at CNN Headline News, St. John, and I think this story will probably become world news in a much bigger way than it already has very shortly. An amazing story, absolutely, which may either open up the door or at least close the door to, I think, one of America's darkest hours.
Yeah, it is truly amazing, and from my point of view, as my father's son, you know, I have the deepest love and the fondest memories of my father, the greatest respect for him, and I think that at the end of his life, he was certainly brave enough to pass this information on to me. You know, we had quite a few conversations about this. And it was at his behest that I wait until he passed away, that you know, that I should reveal this.
Let's talk about the next day in Dallas. Where were you at the time
of the assassination? I'd packed my car to go to Austin for the big fundraiser, and they were having a meeting of the Democrats down the old red courthouse, and they were fussing. Some of them were highly disenchanted about John Kennedy coming to Texas. And so here they were wrangling, which was very common. So I was lighthearted, and I said, "Hey guys, I'm going on to Austin. I'll see you guys in Austin tonight." And I blew him a kiss. I walked out of the red courthouse, and we didn't have all the parking problem. I get in my automobile. You could hear the parade, the noise from the parade. I drove across the Houston Street Viaduct in order to hit the highway to go to Austin. And impulsively, I said, I won't have time to have my hair fixed in Austin, so I'll go by let's see, was it Fair Tyches, the beauty salon and get my hair freshened so I could go on to Austin. And again, it's about maybe 10 minutes or less trip from the Red Courthouse. And as I walked in the door, they were already on the television that he had been shot. So I asked if I could use the phone. I knew if anyone knew anything, it would be just Kellum in Austin because they carried all 3 networks. So I called Jess and I said, what is going on? First, I called Lou Sterrett at downtown. And I said, my God, what has happened, Lou? And here are people that should have been out at the Trademark for the luncheon, but they were still downtown. And he said, well, they just shot that SOB. And maybe Lyndon. Well, when Lou told me it was Lyndon, of course, it was very upsetting. And I didn't live all that far from the where I had my hair fixed. Jess from my house. I said, Jess, what is going on? And he told me at that time. He even said that he was sure he had passed away. Or was
You thought he was talking about Johnson?
Yeah, but but I had already verified that it was not Lyndon. Okay. It was John Conlon.
And Kennedy. Let's go back to the night before. When Johnson came out of the meeting, what did he say to you?
He was so angry. He had a violent temper when he was upset.
Well, let's use the exact words that he said to you. What did he say to you?
He grabbed me by the arm, and he had this deep voice, and he said, after tomorrow, those SOBs will never embarrass me again. That's no threat. That's a promise. And it startled me, really, because he was so ruddy-faced. I thought, oh, well, he really, something went on that shouldn't have gone on, But he called me from the Texas hotel the next morning as I was going downtown.
Right.
And hear this screaming voice of his. He was so irate. And he didn't give me time to talk to him. He just... he was still angry. And when I talked to Jess Kellum right after that, I said, wow, he's on a real violent binge, And then I passed it off. I said, well, after tonight at the Driscoll, he'll be all right. Yeah. And, of course, I didn't see him again until...
What were the words he said to you over the phone?
That they would never embarrass him again. That SOB, the Irish Mafia, I think. He referred to him as the Irish Mafia very often.
But he said they would never embarrass him again?
I'd never embarrass him again. There was no threat. That was a promise. And there were violent feelings that have never been told that was between those two people.
There was a picture in the Associated Press that showed Ralph Yarbrough, John Conley, Lyndon Johnson standing behind Kennedy
at the Texas hotel.
Right. And
yeah.
If you look at the look on Johnson's face, what's your impression?
His face is snarling.
Yeah.
And John Conley is so worried or concerned. And after Air Force One got to Love Field, you see John Conley coming down. Everyone was full of glee. And John Conley has this faraway look.